Welcome friends to another r/I-don't-work-here-lady video. If you come to find you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by Pop Sticker, Confused Customer in a Gift Store. Years ago, I lived in a place where many entitled people lived. I have had many encounters with people thinking I'm an employee when I'm not, just based off of how I look. Racist as heck, even by my own country, but moving on. I was in a gift store when I was like 21 years old. I was looking around for a gift for my mom. I stood in one place for a while reading cards and deciding between gifts. This lady comes up to me and asks, "Could you please suggest a gift to me?" At first I was like, maybe she likes asking strangers. So I said, "Who's the recipient?" She said her 10-year-old daughter. I said the soft toy section might be the place to look since that's what I loved as a young girl. The woman asked me to suggest a few to her. I said, "Sorry, I don't work here." Then she lost her mind. She asked security to come get me for interacting with her at all. And they did. They kicked me out and she got the good treatment. I waited a few weeks before going back there again, and then they didn't remember me. I won't mention where this was, but multiply this story by 1,000 and it describes how many times this has happened. Also, F every racist out there. Now, I don't know where in the world this actually took place, but isn't it appalling to realize that this woman could go up to a security guard and say, "This person is making me feel uncomfortable, therefore they should be removed from the store," which is very obviously racially motivated, and they actually follow through with it and kick OP out of the store. If you got kicked out of a store like that, would you ever go to that store again? Or even the franchise if it's a franchisable place? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Cancer Skittles, Valet Service at Rite-Aid? Disclaimer time, I'm a black man. At the time of the story, I was probably around 15 years old. This combination of traits meant I had a 50-50 chance of others assuming I worked at any store I went to. While there may be embellishments, everything stated did happen. So I'm walking home from school and stop at a Rite-Aid to grab a bottle of water and maybe some snacks. Ended up only grabbing water, which wasn't a game breaker because there's a McDonald's a little ways down. As I finish paying and I'm about to walk through the automatic doors, this older white dude who was, I think, flirting with the cashier in front of him. This dude looked like a mix of Josh Brolin and John Goodman, draped in jeans, a sweat-stained wife beater with a tuft of hair peeking through the neckline, and an opened button-down shirt. He stops and tries to hand me his keys. I recoiled as if he tried to stab me and told him I didn't work there. Undeterred, he jingled the keys towards me and said I need to bring his car up to the front. I, confused by his determination to get me to go get his car, again stated I didn't work there. I just got out of school and I don't need this stuff. He slurred something I didn't quite understand. I loomed down, gazing at my Rattlesnake 316 shirt and cargo shorts, a gray JanSport on my back, a water bottle in one hand, and store-brand over-the-ear headphones in the other, racking my brain to understand how he somehow thinks I'm some kind of car service, especially for Rite-Aid. I guess my brain shorted out because next thing I know, I'm basically being pushed out the door by this guy, keys in hand. As I'm standing there in front of the automatic doors with a mix of stranger danger, general teenage apathy, and wanting to just leave, I take what I feel is the most sensible action and launch the keys as far away from me and into the parking lot as I can before immediately exiting stage left and continuing home, after making another pit stop at McDonald's. And here's the aftermath. I guess the guy noticed I left when his car didn't magically appear in front of the store and called the police. A cop car was already at the McDonald's where I stopped for food, so they stopped me as I was leaving. I told him the guy gave me his keys and seemed really adamant I go to his car, even though I told him several times I didn't work for Rite-Aid and didn't want his keys. I mentioned I thought it was pretty creepy how much he wanted me to go to his car. They asked what I did with them. I told them I chucked them into the parking lot and left. Since I didn't leave the front of the store, I was sure it was on camera. The cops chuckled and said I was free to go. I asked why, feeling it couldn't be that easy. One of them said that if I stole a car, why was I still walking home? Don't know if the dude got his keys or had to call a tow/locksmith, and I don't really care. Cops were cool enough. Honestly, I feel like there's a million conspiracy theories as to what this guy's goal was. Like, maybe they wanted some kind of insurance fraud, or maybe they wanted to just try and get somebody in trouble by calling the cops while somebody else is behind the wheel of their car or something. Or maybe they were drunk or just dumb and thought that for some reason there was valet service at a Rite-Aid. This next story is by Keyboard Bill. If you give me your keys, I'm going to toss them in the gutter. This happened about 16 to 17 years ago when I was in my late 20s. Now, one thing I know about myself is that I'm a baby face. Even now at 44, I'm tall and have an athletic build. So I get mistaken for a young 20-something all the time. So you can imagine what I looked like at the age of 27 or 28. Now couple that with the fact that I'm a black man, relevant later, and you can just imagine what my life's been like. There are few things in America more despicable than a young black man, right? So that's my life in a nutshell, cursed to forever be the young black man. So my team was having a retirement celebration for our manager, and we had a dinner party at a restaurant near our workplace after hours. The shindig ended up being about 25 to 30 people, mostly older. I think I was one of 2 or 3 people there under the age of 40, and it was nice. Our manager shed a tear or two, gave a nice speech, blah blah, etc, etc. The restaurant was open for business, and there were other small parties, couples, etc. there. And they ignored us, and we ignored them, but we weren't segregated. We were seated toward the center of the seating area, around a large table and a second smaller one. So fast forward to the end of dinner, and we're all outside now, saying our final greetings, and on the verge of dispersing, and I was among the group. So a few people start to make their way home, and our group is now whittled down to about 10 to 12 people. Other patrons and pedestrians are coming and going, like normal, and there we are just chatting amongst ourselves. Notably, our manager was still there with his plaque, a relatively large picture frame, and a couple of gift bags. So again, it should have been evident to anybody who was in the restaurant for the last hour who we were. You would think. And then it happens. I'll call her Pre-Karen, PK for short, since this was before people like her were a meme. She says, "Excuse me." I say, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "Here are my keys." I ask, "For?" She says, "For you to get my car." I say, "I'm sorry, I don't work here, ma'am." She says, "I don't have time for games, here are my keys." As she's saying this, she tries to stuff her keys in my hand. Now I'm pissed. I say, "If you put your keys in my hand, I'm going to throw them across the street and into the gutter." She says, "Then why do you have a badge on?" As she's saying this, she reaches out to grab my badge, like what the freak, which was on a lanyard hanging around my neck down around my midsection. But before she can, I snatch it away. I say, "If you touch me again, I will consider it assault and call the police. I don't work here." She withdraws her hand and I release my badge, which she proceeds to study for the 2 or so seconds it would take to figure out it's not a restaurant or valet badge. I believe the restaurant contracts out their valet service, and having done valet work during college, I'm fairly certain my business attire does not in any way resemble the uniforms. Think tacky vest with logos and matching pants of the 2 or 3 companies that are in my area. And furthermore, none of them do badges on lanyards. Then she looks me up and down, comes back to lock eyes with me, and while starting to turn away, utters that word, you know which one, under her breath. Not gonna lie, it caught me off guard, and in the 15 years since, I've thought of the perfect comeback more times than I care to admit. The other story of my life, sigh. But on the bright side, I'm prepared now. But in that moment, I simply couldn't force words to come out of my mouth. So I just turned around and tried to shake off my shock and anger and proceed as if everything was fine. Most of my remaining coworker group, a mix of black and white, was aware of what had just transpired, but there was nothing to be said or done really, so we just kind of started small talking again. I feel like it takes a lot of ego to say such vile things in front of somebody while immediately turning your back towards them. I don't know why this lady was feeling so confident, but you say stuff like that and you turn around, not everybody's just going to let you walk off. Now, I'm not saying violence is the answer, but sometimes it is. That's the kind of moment where you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I was just playing with you the entire time. I am valet. You somehow manage to get the keys from her, and then you do go throw them in the gutter. Our next story is by Quasar Nebula. I may be as tall as a counselor, but I'm not one. Context: my aunt is the director of a summer camp in Maryland. I've been going to this camp every summer since kindergarten as a camper. When this incident took place 2 years ago, I was 12 and 5'9". Remember this. The camp goes to day trips like the pool or movies every day, and this day we went to an amusement park. Now, the camp has counselors that are young, some of them 14, and most of them were either as tall as me or smaller. Also remember that, and on to the story. We arrived at the park at 9:30ish and unloaded into the lobby area. I was with my group and we headed off with our 2 counselors. Let's call them A and T. A is in his 20s and T is 15, so they both look young. We were walking around the park trying to choose something to do when I have to go to the bathroom. A says I can go, and since it wasn't far, I could go by myself. So I go, and after I finished my business, I was walking out when I noticed a young lady, probably as old as A, waving me over. When I realized she meant me, I went over to ask what she needed. Let's call her Screeching Lady or SL. She says, "Yeah, hello, can you put sunscreen on my child?" in a somewhat snobby tone. Her child, another camper, was next to her, probably about 5, without a care in the world. I say, "Ma'am, we don't have sunscreen with us because that's one more item to get lost. And we can't put sunscreen on the kids due to safety reasons. I'm sure a counselor can help you in another way." She says, "But you can help now, so put sunscreen on my child." I say, "Ma'am, counselors can't put sunscreen on because of safety reasons, and I can't help you." She says, "Jesus, what a lazy jerk you are," in the most nonchalant tone ever, like she does this all the time. Now pissed off, I say, "I'm not the jerk here, missy, so quit acting like I am." Now Screeching Lady's yelling at me for telling her what she should and should not do. She said I was a terrible counselor and should be fired. I didn't realize until then that she thought I was a counselor. I say, "I'm not a counselor, my guy." She says, "Don't disrespect me like that," and "Yes, you are." I say, "No, I'm not." She says, "You're lying, you look like them." I say, "How do I look like them?" Counselors wear bright blue shirts with big bold letters saying staff, while campers wear bright orange shirts with no lettering on the back, which is what I was wearing. She says, "You look as old and as tall as them." I understand the old part. At that point, I had whiskers on my chin, but me being as tall as them, that I still don't understand. I say, "Dude, my height doesn't make me a counselor. I don't know how you think that." We kept going back and forth, then I just brought her over to A for him to deal with. "Is there a problem?" A cautiously asked. She says, "Yes, this boy is disrespecting me and my son." A says, "Okay, how?" She says, "He refused to give my son sunscreen and called me my guy. This boy does not know how to respect an adult. He's a terrible counselor and deserves to be fired." A explains to this runt that I'm not a counselor and have done nothing wrong. That is when Screeching Lady loses it. She starts screeching that this camp is terrible and doesn't know how to treat her right. And then she said she should have never have enrolled her child when she saw a white person run the camp. Both me and my aunt are from Pennsylvania and are white, while the majority of the kids and staff here are black. She then points at me and calls me a pig, points to A and calls him a cracker lover, and calls him a traitor to his kind. T, standing there watching the whole situation, starts to push Screeching Lady back and trying to keep her away. At that point, park security was there with my aunt due to the yelling and screaming. As soon as Screeching Lady sees security, she instantly backs off and acts like she grabbed her son and starts to leave the park. But the jerk still didn't say enough. She continues to call me racist and all that. Then she left and never came back. I don't know what happened to Screeching Lady and her son after the incident. All I know is that she left our camp and went to another, so I feel bad for whoever has to deal with her, but I can't dwell on that. I now work as a counselor at the same camp and am now 6'1". We couldn't go to the amusement park because of COVID, but it is still fun nonetheless. Don't you love the fact that the Screeching Lady can identify that she's in trouble? And even when she knows she's in trouble and trying to pretend that she's pulling her son away, she can't set her ego aside long enough to stop saying all these rude, accusatory things that are just completely slanderous. Just completely doubling down on the poop show they've already established. They're like, you know what? We've gone this far, prepare for the second act. We've got nothing left in the tank, bring out the racist accusations. That'll really get them crying as we ride off into the sunset and leave the amusement park where we're supposed to have a bunch of fun. I'm sure that kid was thrilled to have to leave the amusement park. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I just feel bad for the kid. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.